Hello everybody, welcome back. Thank you for watching today. I did not post an update last week, but yesterday was actually the 5-month mark since my jaw surgery. So I did want to come do an update today, kind of how everything is going at the 5-month mark. Maybe not quite halfway through the real full recovery process, but I wanted to check in on everything from how I'm eating, what I'm able to eat now, how kind of my whole mouth is feeling, and what areas like numbness and that kind of thing, orthodontics, things like sleep and other areas that kind of have been impacted from this surgery, and just kind of give a good overall update on what is happening at the 5-month mark. So my first update just on the whole orthodontic situation, I did see my orthodontist yesterday and we made some changes. I think she feels like I'm actually getting pretty close to being able to get braces off. We're just kind of doing finishing touches at this point and making sure that everything is really perfect. So they did actually take off some of the metal bands that were around my molars and a couple of brackets on my molars on top and bottom. You can kind of see now I have these like empty naked teeth or whatever, which is kind of a little bit weird. It feels a little funny, but they wanted to see sort of how my bite and everything would settle without those bands there. And then they're also just like trying to move a few things. I have one tooth that is like kind of twisted on the bottom that hasn't been wanting to straighten out. So we're trying to get that figured out. I don't have to wear rubber bands anymore, which is pretty awesome. Like it's almost kind of strange now because I'm so used to taking them on and off during the day that to not have to use those is pretty cool. So my teeth are actually kind of sore from yesterday from getting the wires put back on and everything and just the little changes. I'm still a little surprised by kind of how sore everything can get, even though we're not moving things all that much. But I think just in general, kind of with there's still being some healing left in my jaw, it just kind of makes everything a little bit more sensitive. So do kind of have to still deal with the sore teeth. Hopefully I won't have too many more months of the orthodontics left to be able to get the braces off and move on. My range of motion in terms of like opening my mouth, I feel like is still kind of limited. Like if I just open as wide as I can, that's about how far I can get. I can like push it open and do the stretches and really get it a little bit further, but it still feels quite tight. And I'm trying to be more diligent again about really doing those stretching exercises a couple of times a day and making sure that I'm practicing that and kind of pushing and trying to get the muscles and the soft tissue and everything to keep adjusting so that I get my range of motion back. Probably do need to be a little bit better about continuing to do the stretches and make sure I'm really working sort of that end range of motion and kind of pushing to get more opening. I know that will help everything else feel more comfortable, like chewing and eating. And so I'm going to keep working on that, but range of motion is still somewhat limited. And I'm just hoping that with continued practice, that will keep getting better over time. I feel like I have made more progress in terms of having feeling in my lower lip and chin over the past couple of weeks. Like it almost feels totally normal at this point. And like when my mouth is closed and kind of my bite is at rest, that feels much more comfortable. Like with before when my lower lip was totally numb, it sort of just, that still felt kind of funny. Like I couldn't feel my lips being closed, if that makes sense. And so that just felt a little bit awkward. Now that feels like much more comfortable. Like I have a comfortable resting spot when my teeth are closed or my mouth is closed. There's definitely less sensitivity in my lower lip and chin. Like it's still a little bit sensitive, like right in the center, but it's a lot better than it has been. I still have quite a bit of numbness, I would say, like on the roof of my mouth. If I push my tongue up against the roof of my mouth, I can still sort of feel, it feels a little bit uncomfortable. It's not really painful, but it's almost like I can sort of still feel where the things are healing in that upper jaw. And really like the back side of my front teeth still does not have a lot of feeling when I brush my teeth, or again, like if I'm eating, or I just kind of like run my tongue along the back of my front teeth. I really can't feel that yet. So that is still one area where I think there's still healing left to happen. And that is also kind of where I still feel like there is some swelling or inflammation, both like when I talk, I can kind of feel it up in my nasal passages. And I feel like what I notice in terms of the puffiness now is just really like concentrated right here, like on the sides of my nose, um, where I feel like there's still some little bit of inflammation. It's kind of interesting because when I talk to people or see people that I haven't seen in a while, or maybe they saw me kind of at the beginning of the recovery and then are seeing me again now, a lot of people will say something like, "Oh, it looks like you're totally healed or all your swelling is gone." And I definitely don't feel that way. I definitely feel like there's still going to be quite a bit of change between now and like what the actual final result is. From what I have heard, both like from my surgeon and other people that have had this surgery, that even between like 6 months to 9 months to a year, you'll still be noticing changes. They might be really subtle, but that the ultimate like full end result of what you are going to look like is really going to take closer to a year. So I guess I will just have to wait and see what happens. In terms of food and eating is definitely a lot easier, partly because I can open my mouth a bit wider now, partly because like having more feeling back, especially I think in my lower lip and stuff, just makes it easier to eat, to kind of like know what I'm doing with my mouth or like how I'm chewing. Like when you have no feeling in your lower lip, it's kind of weird to eat. Like it just is not as functional. So I'm pretty much able to eat most things that I want right now, or like anything that feels comfortable. I would say that like super crunchy things or really hard things still would not feel comfortable to me, both just because of the jaw. Like I think strength wise, or just like trying to bite down on something, it doesn't really feel like I can put that much pressure at this point. And also just because of the orthodontics and my teeth being a little bit sore and a little bit uncomfortable, that's just sort of not very pleasant. So I am still avoiding really crunchy or hard things. I'm not like biting into an apple or anything like that. But for the most part, all their foods are fair game. Like even things that I have to like chew on a little bit more, like that's easier to do now. But yeah, I think it'll be a while before I can like either open wide enough to really bite into something, or I think maybe even until the orthodontics are done and my teeth aren't sore anymore, to kind of bite into anything that's really hard. So just kind of avoiding that at this point. But other than that, food, I'm able to eat pretty much whatever I want. The other thing that I'm trying to keep track of since the surgery is really my sleep and kind of my sleep quality and sleep quantity, because I did get such a big increase in my airway. I was really curious to see how that was going to play into my sleep in the long run. So I did get an Aura ring. So I don't know if you're not familiar with an Aura ring. It's basically a tracking device. It tracks everything from like activity, your body temperature, your sleep at night, and some other things. And so I really wanted to kind of use this to compare my own like subjective measurement of how I'm sleeping and see if I could get some actual data on if my sleep is going well, if I'm getting enough deep sleep, and just kind of overall what my sleep quality looks like. So I haven't had this for super long, and I feel like it still will take maybe a little more time for me to track and kind of measure to see over time what that looks like. Because they do say too that with these rings, like it can take a little bit for it to start to recognize your own patterns or kind of your tendencies and really have very more accurate measurements. So I need to give it a little bit more time, but so far it's been pretty interesting. For the most part, it has shown pretty good sleep quality and sleep quantity, that I'm getting maybe 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, and I'm getting enough of the restful deep sleep and getting enough REM sleep. So that's pretty cool. I would say that subjectively, I do feel like I am sleeping quite well and sleeping better than I was before the surgery. Before surgery, I feel like I would wake up probably like 2 or 3 times at night. I would usually be able to fall asleep quickly, but I was still waking up a couple of times. And I probably was getting like 7 hours of sleep, usually maximum. That was kind of like if I would sleep 7 hours, then I would wake up and I would be out for the day. Now I feel like I am waking up maybe once during the night, and I'm really sleeping closer to 8 hours most nights, sometimes more. Sometimes it's still maybe like 7 or 7.5 hours, but I would say it's a lot closer to like 8 hours a night consistently. Fewer times waking up in the night and just sort of feeling like I'm getting more deep sleep or more of that like really restful, restorative sleep. I have also noticed in the past couple of weeks that I've had a little bit more just general jaw soreness, which I feel like kind of went away for a while and now is happening again. I think this is probably because of the orthodontic treatment and because we were like shifting some things around and I was wearing the rubber bands differently. It probably was just impacting my jaw overall and causing just kind of like a little bit of achiness. I would say mostly like kind of in my lower jaw. It wasn't anything that was like really uncomfortable, but it just was more noticeable than it had been for a while. So that's just something kind of interesting I've noticed over the past few weeks, but I really do think that's just more related to the orthodontics. It's not necessarily like a setback in the healing process or anything like that, but I think it's probably pretty normal for me to have some jaw soreness or just general kind of like mouth and teeth soreness at this point because of the orthodontic treatment. So that is kind of where I'm at after 5 months. Food and eating is going really well, getting closer to being done with orthodontic treatment. Still noticing progress in the swelling, even though I feel like there's still some things left to resolve there. Also still have a few areas that have some numbness or haven't totally gotten feeling back yet, and noticing good improvements in my sleep and just looking forward to seeing what kind of continued progress I can make up through 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, seeing what this next sort of phase of the healing process brings. I will be back next week with another update. I should hopefully have kind of an interesting new development on this whole healing journey and my kind of overall health and trying to make progress there. So just waiting to hear back about something, but hopefully I'll be able to include that in next week's update. So stay tuned for that. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel below if you would like to get notified when new videos come out. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave those below. I'm definitely more than happy to answer any questions you guys have. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching, for continuing with me on this journey. I will see you guys next week with another update.